You know, I haven't covered Megyn Kelly in a while, but she's got her own independent right-wing grift career these days, and she apparently brought on the CEO of The Federalist to fearmonger about transgender violence. No, I'm not talking about the real transgender violence, that is to say, the violence against transgender people that's perpetuated by hateful assholes. No, their made-up concept of the transgender attacker epidemic. Mind you, there have been 4 cases, literally ever, of trans shooters or mass attackers. You know, you can Google it right now if you don't believe me. There's literally been 4. This is not a real thing. They are making this up for no other reason than to push hate on trans people. That is it. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and watch this clip and see how much evidence he's actually able to use or pull up to substantiate his claim. I have a feeling it'll be literally none.
Yeah, so I've spent probably, I think, the last 14 years in investigative journalism. Before that, I was a chief investigator on the Hill for Tom Coburn, who is just a renowned investigator of waste and fraud. And there's a thing.
You know those big 3 words that Trump and Elon kept using in reference to purging the federal government back when Doge was getting started up? Waste, fraud, abuse. They kept using these phrases over and over and over again. They're really strong buzzwords. Waste, fraud, abuse, waste, fraud, abuse. They mean nothing in reality. They found no waste, fraud, or abuse within USAID or within the federal government. They just used it as an excuse to get people on board with mass firing, because if you use the really loud, punchy, angry buzzwords enough, you can make retards cheer for anything. And that's what I imagine the guy he's friends with was doing.
You learn to do when you're in investigating is that you always kind of have to start with a hypothesis. You have an idea in your head of what happened, and then from there you have to look at all.
What? That is not how it works. I feel like when you're working backwards from a hypothesis, it's one of the most, biased ways you can try to conduct any sort of research, right? Aren't you supposed to come up with a hypothesis after you've already collected your data? I could be wrong. It's been a while since I was taking science classes in school, but does a hypothesis come before you've even begun any kind of experiment? Like before establishing any parameters or setting any, variables or collecting any data at all on any of it? Is hypothesis step 1? It might be, but I don't think that's right.
All the facts, and you ask yourself, do all these facts align?
Yeah, hypothesis comes first? Okay, all right. Maybe I'm misremembering.
There, you have to look at all the facts, and you ask yourself, do all these facts align with this hypothesis I have? And you know what? Sometimes they add up perfectly, and you're like, okay, I nailed it. This is what happened. And then sometimes they don't. And it takes time and wisdom and
That's true. You're testing your hypothesis with the experiment. Yep.
Discernment and experience to notice when the facts don't quite line up, to be able to tell yourself, okay, that original hypothesis I had, I don't think that's correct. So what is actually able to explain all these known facts? What's the thread that runs through all of them? And what's the story that aligns with all of them? And the one in this one is not Israel or Egypt or helicopters or planes or exploding microphones. It's that we have an utter epidemic of transgender terroristic violence in this.
I like how he can't even keep a straight face while he's saying it, man. That's the funniest part, is he can't even keep a straight face while he's saying it, because you can imagine that flashing in his head are the faces of the 4 trans terrorists that have actually happened. The 4 actually trans terrorists that have happened in America. Mind you, these people believe that Tyler Robinson, the guy who shot Charlie Kirk, is trans. He's not, by the way. Tyler Robinson is not trans, but they to this day try to claim Tyler Robinson is the 5th trans shooter, because mind you, there are so few that every single individual they can try to claim is a trans shooter adds substantially to their very small pile. But yeah, Tyler Robinson was not trans. Google it if you don't believe me. There's literally no sources that aren't weirdo, I guess, the Federalist claiming that he was, I guess. But yeah, Tyler Robinson was a Mormon dude. Anyway, there's been 4 trans shooters. And I get that trans people are a pretty small proportion of the population, so 4 shooters is definitely, representation, for sure. But when you look at the amount of shootings that happen in America, we're talking about thousands of shootings per year. and the vast majority of them are either accidents, suicide, or most commonly, what makes up a lot, like, or maybe not most commonly, suicide I think is the most common. What makes up a lot of our gun violence in America, and I'm talking about guns because guns are the way that we deliver the most violence as a species in general. When it comes to gun violence, the vast majority that is not suicides is just gang violence. That's why Charlie Kirk asked counting or not counting gang violence before he got shot, was because if you don't count gang violence, the statistics change substantially. If you count gang violence, then young black men make up a lot, like the majority of gun perpetrators in America. But if you don't count gang violence as a form of, like, you know, mass shooting gun crime, because you're mostly just talking about like lone wolf shooter scenarios, then it is by a long shot white dudes, straight white dudes, teenagers. You're Elliot Rodgers. Like, Elliot Rodger is literally the Columbine shooters are literally the pinnacle face of that archetype for a reason.
Country. This wasn't the first time it happened. We have scores of examples. We have
scores of examples, really? Like 4 score? Because all I know about is 4, bro. Like, if I Google it right now, all right, let's check. Let's see how many trans shooters has America had? There have been 5 there's 5 now. Okay. There have been 5 confirmed mass shootings carried out by transgender or non-binary perpetrators in the United States. This statistic covers the period between January 2013 and mid-2025, during which the Gun Violence Archive recorded 5,748 total mass shooting incidents. Probably not counting gang violence if it's that many years. That's like 1 year's worth of gun violence in America. 5,000. Research by the Violence Project and analysis of active shooter data by the FBI indicates that these cases represent less than 0.01% to 1.5% of all mass shootings, a rate proportionate to or slightly under the trans population's share of the U.S. populace. Studies consistently demonstrate that an overwhelming majority, roughly 96 to 98% of mass shootings, are committed by cisgender men. Cisgender white men, at that. Unless you count gang violence. But, yeah. So there are not scores of examples, it turns out.
Had a woman who decided she was a boy go and shoot up a bunch of third graders at a Christian.
So here's gonna be my guess. He's gonna say there are scores of examples, and then he's gonna list the 5 examples that actually exist. Stop when there are no more examples after 5, and then we're gonna pretend like there's more after that point. You know, it's like if you did like 3. You're like a little kid, right? And your mom's coming home, and you want to impress her. So you do 3 chores. You clean the bathroom, you wipe down the counters, and you sweep the floor. And then she gets home, and you say, "Oh my God, I did so much cleaning today. I cleaned so much stuff. I cleaned the bathroom, I wiped down the counters, I sweep the floor. I did so much stuff, man." Like, that's the equivalent of how he's talking about this, just to give the vague idea that there is more beyond what actually happened.
School in Nashville. It happened in Minnesota. It happened in Wisconsin.
Yep, he's listing the 5 examples.
Big leap to be like, oh,
he didn't even list all 5.
This guy whose DNA is on everything. The guy whose text messages were everywhere. The guy whose he's accounted for all over the campus. His parents recognized him. They turned him in. They confessed it. They have all of it in black and white. He was angry over Charlie's belief that boys can't become girls.
Oh, wait, no, he's actually trying to claim... He's doing it now. He's doing the thing right now. He's trying to claim that Tyler Robinson, the Charlie Kirk shooter, is trans. They need every individual they can to add to the pile, because that's how small it is.
And girls can't become boys. This isn't a particularly difficult case. This isn't something where we're having to go plumb the depths of the internet and look at this document and that document to figure out what's going on. The dots basically connect themselves.
This guy will lose his marbles if he finds out 90% of that type of crime is committed by cisgender dudes. The fact is, it's actually 98 to 99%, and he knows that. He already knows. He's a propagandist. All these people, all 3 of these people, are tier 1 propagandists. They know they're lying, and they're doing it for a paycheck. They don't believe the lies that they're pushing.
It's not a revolutionary theory. This is yet one more example of left-wing transgender terroristic violence. It has to stop. We have to crack down on it. One thing that I've been frustrated by is that we have not seen Antifa be dragged from their homes, their bank accounts raided.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. Next it'll be BLM, by the way. Mind you, this is their hardcore, like, claiming that these movements are organizations. Antifa, like, being Antifa, to be Antifa is to be anti-fascist, to be politically opposed to anti-fascism. Now, these people have managed to memify Antifa to be those guys in the street that wear the red and the black and their, like, bandanas and they're breaking stuff. Those people don't exist. Those people are random dudes who went out and bought black and red and dressed that way and went out to do that. The only way you start pulling Antifa people out of their homes and shutting down their bank accounts is by locating people online who have expressed left-wing politics and using the law against them, which is absolutely what the right wants to do.
Their assets frozen and liquidated, because this is a terrorist movement. It is a demonic, violent, terroristic, ideological movement that has been very open about its aims. And we can't just sit by and wait for one more to happen and then put that person in jail. This is something we actually have to...
There it is. We can't just do these things how we've done it with every crime ever for all time, by the way. Like, that's literally how... What do you mean? Okay, so I guess we need to start arresting every single straight white teenager, because, oh boy, those cisgender teenagers, they're a real threat. They're a real threat. We can't just wait for the next one to happen and then prosecute. We gotta act before the crime is committed. What the fuck you talking about, bro? You see what I mean now, right? Like, the fear-mongering is for a purpose. They want to eliminate trans people's right to exist. Just 3 years ago, it was, you know, I feel like trans people competing in sports, you know, it's a bit, I'm not a big fan. Now it's, we need to be pulling them out of their houses. We need to be liquidating their bank accounts. They need to be losing their citizenship and getting deported for existing.
Tackle head on. I had hoped it would have happened immediately after Charlie was assassinated, and it wasn't, but it's never too late to start.
Mind you, he's not even talking about a trans person right now. Like, he's trying to implicate trans people with all these crazy, insane claims. Meanwhile, the person he's talking about isn't even trans. Like there is absolutely no evidence Tyler Robinson is trans. Their claim is because Tyler Robinson's roommate was, like, non-binary or something, that meant Tyler was part of, counts as a trans shooter. That is their unironic claim. Yeah, they're pretty desperate for examples. Anyway, folks, if you enjoyed this video, if you found it entertaining, educational, or enjoyable, then please, leave a like and a comment down below. It really does help a lot, and I appreciate it immensely. Be sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon if you want to see more from me in the future, and I hope to see you in the next one.